review of Ad Astra, starring Brad Pitt and directed by James Gray, which I'm just back from seeing. I'm going to go completely spoiler-free, I think, on this, because it's a film that you'd benefit from knowing very little about going in. But in broad terms, Ad Astra is a sci-fi space opera film, a bit like 2001 or Interstellar or something. And it's about Brad Pitt, who's an astronaut, and his dad, played by Tommy Lee Jones, is lost on the edge of the solar system, maybe dead, maybe not. And there's weird stuff happening on Earth, and Brad Pitt gets sent to sort of go and find him, or stop him, or rescue him, or something like that. It's very much in the model of something like Solaris, if you've seen the Russian original, or the kind of boring Steven Soderbergh remake, or obviously it has a feel or a reference to 2001, the kind of awesome granddaddy of space films. It's much more serious than something like Gravity, the Alfonso Cuarón film from a couple of years ago, and much more consistent, I thought, than Christopher Nolan's Interstellar. This is not a big budget space adventure movie. If the film has a flaw, maybe it's that it feels the need to throw in a couple of kind of incidents along the way to make it not completely just a journey inward kind of movie. There's like some space pirates, and there's a big attack with a monster and stuff, and all those kind of things, which are all really well done and well realised and quite exciting and tense, but the story probably could lose some of those and actually not change in terms of the core of what it is. Some people describe it as slow. I just googled it and you get words like slow and illogical and meandering and navel-gazing, all these kind of things. And I understand that some people might feel that way. I didn't feel that way at all. I was completely gripped from start to finish. It's a really excellent performance by Brad Pitt. It's so strange, I always think of him giving like really awful performances in Meet Joe Black, where he does that like terrible Jamaican accent, or he's awful in Troy, where he kind of pouts off into the distance. But I think as he's gotten older, he's really sort of matured into it. His looks are really interesting now. He's still kind of beautiful, but he's not pretty. There's a lot in kind of in his face in terms of how he expresses and what he does and the nuance of that. I thought he was great in Once Upon a Time in America. That was a real kind of like relaxed, fun movie star performance. But in this, it's a very, very contained performance, and he conveys an enormous amount by doing very little. I thought he was excellent. James Gray, I haven't seen many of his films at all. I haven't seen The Lost City of Zed, which many people say is really good, the thing with Arpats in, but I might now go and seek that out. But essentially, I thought this was excellent. I thought it was really, really good. It was great to see a big budget space movie, I guess, or kind of almost like a blockbuster, which was had real serious intent, which is about something. What it's about is maybe a little bit clearly played out in some of the lines towards the end, but it's still very sparingly done. And the realization of space is really convincing, and it really looks beautiful in terms of its imagery. The science, it seems good. I was a bit wonky on some of the stuff around time, about how long it takes to do certain things and to get to certain places. It seemed a little bit variable in terms of what the film is conveying. It seemed to imply that science had moved on from the sort of earlier time frame of when Tommy Lee Jones was an astronaut and things. That was a little bit vague. And what Tommy Lee Jones actually was originally doing is perhaps a little bit vague, and perhaps kept till late in the film. That slightly undermines maybe the logic, but I didn't mind really. There's a cracking opening sequence, like when Brad Pitt's on this massive antenna. All the space travel stuff is really good and really convincing, and it narrows down to an ending, none of which I'll give away, which is really beautiful to look at. It has enormous visual magnetism. It conveys the emptiness of space beautifully. It has a real sense of isolation and of loneliness. I love the way it played out. I actually found the end tremendously moving, and it did that nice thing of me kind of like clicking exactly what the film is getting at into place, very neatly, but only at that point. And it is stated fairly explicitly, nevertheless. I thought that was really beautifully done. And very emotional. I find it very moving. So it's just lovely to see a big budget, kind of non-Marvel serious movie for grown-ups, featuring a movie star, giving you a really committed, very understated, lovely performance. It's good to see Tommy Lee Jones in something. His face is so lined and full of life, but he doesn't come across as acting. He just looks like he's lived through everything. You know, it's like, how many years is it since he won his Oscar for The Fugitive? He just seems to have aged like 1,000 years since then. But he's really magnetic and well cast. And good old Donald Sutherland turns up as well. It's good to see him still cropping up in movies. But yeah, I loved it. I thought it was fantastic. I found it absolutely gripping, really moving, and to have real depth. And I saw it on a massive screen where I had a great sense of the epic as well. So yeah, you know, maybe give one of the Marvel movies a miss, you know, and go and see this, because I thought it was definitely one to see on the big screen. And I thought it was a 5-star movie. I really loved it. I thought it was fantastic. So yeah, I recommend you definitely give this one a go.